Welcome to my latest 2023 NFL preview video. Today I am breaking down the New Orleans Saints. Here's how the previews work. I give you 3 things I like about the Saints, followed by 3 things I don't like. Then we break down the schedule and go over the yearly win total odds. And at the end of the video, I reveal I am putting action down on the Saints. Let's start off with the first thing I like about the New Orleans Saints. The first thing I like about the Saints is their quarterback situation. I thought it was a great move to sign Derek Carr in free agency, but you were still able to keep Jameis Winston as the backup. If Carr goes down, Winston is more than capable of stepping in, but I'm also really impressed with their 4th round selection of Jake Haener, an undersized, wildly accurate passer who threw for a ton of yards in college. Should sound familiar to Saints fans. While I'm not sure Derek Carr is a top 10 quarterback, this group is easily a top 10 unit, and I'm not even including Taysom Hill, who can always step in. This goes hand in hand with the second thing I like about the Saints, and that is their offense surrounding Derek Carr. I can tell you for an absolute fact, Derek Carr has never had this level of a supporting cast before. This will easily be the best offensive line he's ever played behind, and he also has a ton of weapons. Alvin Kamara is joined by free agent Jamal Williams, who led the NFL in rushing touchdowns last season and set a Lions record for rushing touchdowns in a season, beating Barry something's previous record. The Saints also drafted one of my draft crushes, Andre Miller, a running back out of TCU, an old school power back who's going to be a nice complement to Kamara. Last year's first round pick, Chris Olave, did not disappoint, going over 1,000 yards receiving, and Juwan Johnson in his first season as starting tight end constantly improved as the season went on. If Michael Thomas can come back to anything near his 2019 form, he will be a massive addition to this offense. I also really like Jimmy Graham back into the fold. He might not contribute much on the field, but he will still have a huge impact on this team. The final thing I like about the Saints are the studs on defense. Demario Davis and Cameron Jordan went to the Pro Bowl again, and the Honey Badger returning to Louisiana helped the Saints give up the 2nd fewest passing yards in the NFL last season. This is one of those rare defenses that has studs on all 3 levels, and in free agency they acquired defensive tackles Kalen Sanders and Nathan Shepard. In the draft, they used their 1st and 2nd round picks on defensive linemen Brian Brees and Isaiah Foxley to already boost an already talented defensive line. With studs on all 3 levels and additions through the draft and free agency, the Saints will remain as one of the NFL's top defenses. To recap the 3 things I like about the Saints, I like their quarterback situation, the offense surrounding Derek Carr, and the studs on defense. Before I go over the 3 things I don't like about the Saints, make sure you smash that like button. And if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out this community when you actually subscribe. Now, 3 things I don't like about the Saints. The first thing I don't like is that this is an aging team. The defense especially will have one of, if not the oldest unit in the NFL. I love Cameron Jordan and Demario Davis, but Jordan is 34 and Davis turns 35 in January. The Honey Badger is 31, and while he played well, he did go to 3 consecutive Pro Bowls with Kansas City. He didn't go to the Pro Bowl last year. Marcus May and Bradley Roby are also on the wrong side of 30, and this goes hand in hand with the second thing I don't like about the Saints was their sudden drop-off in rushing defense last season. After 4 consecutive seasons being 4th or better in rushing yards allowed, they dropped to 24th last season. Now, the Saints didn't have a bad defense. They allowed the 2nd fewest passing yards, were 9th in points allowed, and had 48 sacks last season. But a team over the last 4 seasons with a dominant rushing defense went from one of the best to one of the worst in just 1 season. The Saints did address this through free agency and the first 2 rounds in the NFL draft. But a team that allowed over 36 yards rushing per game in just 1 season, combined with the age on this defense, has to be a concern. The third thing I don't like about the Saints is new defensive coordinator Joe Woods. Just to be clear, this isn't anything against Joe Woods, but I would have gone in a different direction. I would have hired Carolina Panthers intern coach Steve Wilks. He took the 49ers defensive coordinator job. Now, I want to be clear, I don't blame Dennis Allen for his failures as the Raiders head coach, but in over 3 years of being an NFL head coach, his record is 15-38. That's a winning percentage of .283. Why wouldn't you bring in someone with some head coaching experience to help out? Wilkes, a former head coach, combined with the knowledge of the NFC South, would have been perfect. Another defensive coordinator with head coach experience is Vic Fangio, who was hired by the Miami Dolphins this offseason. Fangio was the Saints linebackers coach when they had Amos Stone Patrol and is someone I would have loved. But his defense is considerably different than what the Saints run currently. For the record, the Browns defense last season gave up the 5th fewest passing yards, but were 25th in rushing yards allowed. Why bring in a defensive coordinator whose running defense was worse than yours when you're trying to improve the team's rushing defense? Just to recap the 3 things I don't like about the Saints: they have an aging team, the surprising drop in rushing defense, and Joe Woods. I basically would have gone in a different direction. Now let's break down the Saints schedule. I think it's really important for the Saints to get out to a fast start, and the schedule is favorable early. It wouldn't surprise me going into week 7, the Thursday night game against Jacksonville, if the Saints are 4-2 or even 5-1. After the Saints bye week 11, they will play the Falcons on the road, then have 3 consecutive home games. This is really important because the last 2 games are against divisional rivals, and if they can win 2 out of those 3 home games between weeks 13 and 15, they could lock up the NFC South before they play Tampa Bay week 17. I firmly believe that the Saints' goal is to have this division locked up before week 17, and while 4 out of the Saints' first 6 games are on the road, I firmly believe they could be 4-2 before what could be a key game, week 7 versus Jacksonville on Thursday night. Now, let's look at the yearly win total odds. The magic number for the Saints is 9.5 across the board, and you can get a positive on over 9.5 wins at almost any sports book. If you don't know what that means, you can check out my yearly win total odds tutorial video here. As a bonus for you, I checked out Barstool, Caesars, and DraftKings, and Caesars has the best number on the over at +110. Barstool has the best number for the Saints to win the NFC South at +125, and I like both of these bets. I actually think you might be better off just taking the Saints to win the division. Keep in mind, Tampa Bay won the NFC South last year going 8-9. I am going to put action down on the Saints winning the NFC South, but I'm on the fence of over 9.5 wins. Now you can check out my playlist here if you want to look at the preview for your favorite NFL team. And Monday, I'm breaking down the Tennessee Titans. I want you to have a great weekend, and don't forget, every Friday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I go live on the live stream. All questions are answered and anything goes. I can't wait to see you there tonight.